I know. It's funny.
And what is it she's got, the chain?
She's got a chain.
Yeah.
You're rolling.
All right.
Shift towards the camera, Bobbie.
You want me toward the camera?
Yeah, just.
Oh, okay.
There you
I
go.
see what you mean.
You're rolling.
Very good. Simon, first of all, welcome to Dallas.
Thank you, Bobbie. It's lovely to be here.
And to Texas. Is this your only Texas stop?
Yes, it is. And my first time in the south of America as well, really. I mean, certainly my first time in Texas. So it's what fun to be here.
The whirlwind that it is.
Yeah, well, we're not really seeing many places because we're going from place to place and we're seeing hotels and cars. But that's it. But no, it's been lovely to. We had a little drive around Dallas this morning, saw a few of the sights. That was great.
Well, I must confess something to you, Simon.
Sure.
The horror genre is my least favorite kind of film. But having said that, I have seen some horror films that I thought were really wonderful.
Uh-huh.
And yours is the first horror comedy I've ever seen, zombie comedy.
Yeah.
But I just laughed almost from beginning to end.
Oh, great.
I really enjoyed it. Now, I know you don't like to call it a spoof,
No.
but are you offended if I say to you that, to me, being a card-carrying Monty Python fan,
Right.
if I say to you that this is Monty Python meets George Romero's Dawn of the Dead,
Yeah.
are you offended?
Not at all. I mean, to be associated with the Pythons is a great compliment, you know. I mean, I'm a big fan of theirs as well, and certainly growing up, you know, when I was very young, you know, that was some of the first comedy I was seeing when I was sort of in my infancy, and so I'm a huge fan of theirs. And the Python sense of humor is very clever, and it's very dry as well as being very silly at the same time. So, no, I think that's a nice sort of summation of what we're doing. You know, also, I guess we get compared to the Pythons as well just because we're British, and we're coming from the same sort of school of comedy in a way. But yeah, that's a nice thing to say.
In this movie, you have, I think it's over 1,000 extras.
1,100 extras it was,
1,100 extras, and over 800 zombies.
Yeah.
Now, did all those people get paid?
No. The simple fact is we kind of, you know, we only had a budget of about £4 million, you know. What we did was we put an advert on the website of our television program, Spaced. We have a TV sitcom in the UK. And we put an advert saying, if you want to be a zombie, we can't really pay you very much money, if anything, but we can feed you, we can look after you and guarantee that you'll meet everybody in the film and have a nice day. If you'd like to do that, so the disclaimer was all there, you know, give us an email. 1,000 people emailed back, and they just came along and just got into the spirit of things, did it for free, and basically spent their days, you know, eating catered food and being covered in blood.
And about how many days did that entail?
I don't know. I mean, I think when we got into the studio, there were a lot of days when we had to just have silhouettes around the pub scene. There were days when we were out in the open. I suppose, I mean, on a 9-week shoot, we probably had about 4 solid weeks of zombie work, you know. So it was a lot of work to do, and they just seemed to love it. They turned up even when they weren't needed, you know. They just seemed to be having a great time.
How do you audition a zombie? What do you look for?
It's kind of like Zombie Idol, you know. There's a panel of people, because we didn't just let everybody be zombies. I mean, it wasn't just like a free-for-all. You had to be able to move properly and understand the, you know, the kind of dynamics of the zombie. So we had like auditions where people literally just walked across the room as a zombie, and we said yes, no, or whatever. Or, you know, if someone looked particularly good, we'd teach them or choreograph them. So, you know, you do have to be careful not to do the Boris Karloff hands. You know, it's got to be slightly more shambolic. And our zombies are in the tradition of the Romero films, in that they're very slow moving and very sort of almost ineffectual. They're not sort of fast zombies like we've had recently. So yeah, we were very careful to vet them all, you know.
The scene, Simon, where I could not stop laughing was when all of you were trying to act like zombies,
Yeah.
so that you could mingle with them unnoticed.
Yes.
Now, what was it like when you were filming that? Did you break one another up?
It was kind of weird, you know. It's because everybody was in character when we were moving. We basically had the idea when we were writing that why shouldn't they try and pretend to be zombies in order to fool them? Because zombies are stupid, you know, they're just walking eating machines. They don't have any greater intelligence or sense of smell, hearing or sight. The only way they can tell that you're a person is if you run screaming, shouting, "Don't eat me." And so we figured we'd do this scene. And it was weird because, you know, we were walking through this crowd, of being a big zombie fan myself from the Romero movies, to suddenly be moving among a crowd of 150 zombies was just weird, you know, particularly when they were all going, I mean, it was really unnerving and slightly kind of frightening in a way, I guess. But a boy had ambition at the same time.
How did you keep the zombies down? I mean, the moaning could get totally out of hand.
Well, it was funny because obviously, for sound purposes, a lot of the takes, they had to be completely quiet. So whenever there was dialogue, they had to be silent and just mime moaning, because then the moaning would come on in post-production. But there was a time when every time we rolled the camera, somebody was moaning, and we couldn't figure out who it was. What we were saying, you can't moan. Everybody be quiet. Everybody just mime. Still, this guy was moaning, and the sound engineer walked into the crowd during the take and found this guy and said, "It's you! Stop it!" And he sort of went, "Oh God, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was doing it. You know, I thought I was in character." So it was difficult. You know, they really got into the method.
The other thing I wonder about, Simon, is that you shot this in certain areas in North London.
That's right.
Neighborhoods. Now, how did you clear the neighborhood, or how did you work with the neighborhood?
We actually did. We had signs up a lot of the time. After the first day, when we were filming a scene outside Shaun's house, and there's a zombie walking down the street who's missing an arm, and it was an actual amputee actor who had his arm dressed up to look like a fresh sort of wound. And there was a children's birthday party in one of the houses up the road, and so all these kids were seeing this guy with the contact lenses in his, you know, this bloody mess just here, and they were quite upset. So what we did was we put signs up saying, you know, these streets may contain actors that some people might find offensive, and so everyone knew. And really it was just a question of, you know, you pay to film certain places, you have to clear the area, and most people like it. Most people come and they watch and they don't mind. You always get someone who, because if someone wants to walk through a shot, they can. You can never stop anybody. You can only ask people. And if someone takes it upon themselves to think, well, I can walk through here if I want, they will. And, you know, you get a couple of mad people that just shout at you and call you names. But most times it was great.
I guess we're having a tornado.
We're testing the system, I guess.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
Yeah, they're testing the emergency system.
Oh, wow.
12 noon, yeah.
What was I just saying?
If they wanted to interrupt, people could just walk through the middle of the crowd.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah. No, but the funny thing was when we were shooting in New Cross, which is an area in South London, for the exterior of the pub. Are you picking this up?
Probably,
So.
yeah, let's just,
Okay.
they'll think the zombies are
Yeah,
attacking.
that's what I thought. It's the air raid siren, the zombie siren.
We should be good. Well,
No, when we were shooting in New Cross in South London, where the exterior of the pub was, all the local kids came out to watch, and they all wanted to be zombies. New Cross is a slightly rougher area, and so the kids are used to seeing blood. So they were just getting made up and joining in.
Let's just wait. What it's doing, it's turning
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
around, and then it should go.
I think it's turned in now.
Let's see if it's...
Is this for a tornado, is it? For
It can be anything. It can be a tornado or Martians attacking.
Wow.
Whatever.
That's what it reminds me of. Not that I was around then, but...
You're rolling.
Okay.
Okay.
You filmed a good bit of this at Ealing Studios.
That's right.
And I also was, and still am, a great Alec Guinness fan.
Yeah.
What was it like working at Ealing?
It was amazing. Ealing it's pretty much intact how it used to be. It's being renovated now. It's a very old studio in the UK, and obviously a lot of those great films came from there. The Man in the White Suit, Passport to Pimlico. I mean, and then we were aware that technically we were making an Ealing comedy. You know, we were making a comedy movie at Ealing, so ergo, you know, not that we would ever be so arrogant as to sort of put ourselves with Alec Guinness and that lot, because those films are classic and amazing. It would be nice if one day, you know, people look back at Shaun of the Dead like that, but there's a great sense of history there, and the corridors are all really old-fashioned, and when we were in our dressing rooms, you know, you think, wow, the people that have been in here are very, very impressive, and So yeah, it was a really nice thing to do. I was very pleased that we filmed at Ealing as opposed to any of the other studios. Not that they're not good, but it just felt right, you know, for a British comedy.
This was a hit in London. Can you give me some sort of comparison?
Well, we, for a low-budget film, I mean, for a sort of, essentially a kind of independent movie, it opened really big, and we had a great opening weekend. We were on about 350 screens. We had our opening weekend was about £1.6 million, which is really, really good for a British film, considering that here, at its very smallest, it will open on 500 screens and hopefully get more. But yeah, we were right at the top of the charts. We got beaten by Scooby-Doo 2 because it was the school holidays and all the children were going to the cinema, and that was on at like 600 screens or something. But we outgrossed 28 Days Later and the Dawn of the Dead remake. So in terms of the zombie kind of zeitgeist gang, we emerged as the victors in that respect. Although Andrew MacDonald, who was the producer of 28 Days Later, who we have a great relationship with, sent us a lovely email saying congratulations on, you know, outdoing us at the box office, but you didn't get the #1 and we did. So there was a kind of playfulness there with that lot. But yeah, we were thrilled at the response to it.
Was it always in the plan to release it in the U.S.?
I don't know. I mean, we were so sort of wound up in actually just getting it made. We never really thought about it going on at home, let alone in the US. But we did actually, when we were writing it, we changed one line in case it ever came here. We always hoped it would, and we always hoped it would be understood in the way it has been here. It's been brilliant the way that the audiences have responded. But there's a line when Shaun and Ed are in the garden and they see this girl who's in the garden and they figure that she's drunk. Because you wouldn't just say that's a zombie, you'd say, you know. And the original line was she's really pissed, which in England is slang for being very drunk. But here, of course, it also means annoyed. And we wouldn't want anybody to think for a second that we were saying she looks annoyed, because that's not as funny. So we changed the line to she's so drunk. And that was our only little kind of inkling that it might ever come over. But ultimately, the film is owned by Working Title, who are looked over by Universal. So there was always a chance, you know. And fortunately, that's happened.
Is there anything else that you would like audiences, U.S. audiences, to know before they go to see this?
I think, well, what you were saying earlier on about not being a fan of horror films but enjoying this one, there hasn't been a single state we've visited on this tour where we've been screening the film where somebody hasn't said that. And particularly women have come up and said, you know, I'm not usually a fan of horror films, but I really enjoyed this film. And I think what we set out to do, and hopefully have succeeded in doing, is creating a sort of zombie date movie where the horror fans will absolutely love it for all the kind of, you know, the horror, which is treated very reverentially and very seriously, and anyone else who just enjoys comedy and romance will get something from that side of the film. So if you think, you know, Shaun of the Dead, oh, I don't like the sound of it, go and see it before you judge it, because I think a lot of people are going to get a kick out of it.
One last question, and that is, we in this country do not ever see Spaced, do we?
Right. No, it hasn't been on, but it is going to be shown.
Is it?
Because of the film, they're going to show it on a cable channel called Trio, and it's going to be shown from about mid-September every night up to the run-up of the release of the film.
And you're the lead character, but what are you in this?
I share the lead role with Jessica Stevenson, who plays Yvonne in Shaun of the Dead, my friend who sort of I keep meeting up with. I shouldn't say rescues, that gives away the end of the film. I'll do that again. I share the writing and lead role with Jessica Stevenson, who's also in the film, and we play I'm like a sort of comic book geek who works in a comic shop and is a skateboarder, and this is when I was a bit younger. And Jessica plays an aspiring writer, and basically they both get made homeless on the same day and meet in a cafe for the first time. And after 2 weeks of trying to find a flat separately, they realise they might stand more chance together. So they start looking for a flat together, and they find one which is a professional couple only. So they pose as a professional couple and move into this flat. And from that point, the whole series starts off, and it's kind of like, you know, these two strangers who've just met living together and their strange friends that they have. The show's kind of, I hesitate to say a live-action sort of Simpsons, but I suppose it's the closest to it in that it's always flitting off into fantasy and flashback, and it's very kinetic. It's directed by Edgar Wright, who directed Shaun of the Dead, and it has a similar feel to it, you know. But that's also been going down well here. People have said they've bought the region-free DVD player so they can watch British DVDs on it. So and have bought them specifically for Spaced, which is great.
And how, is it still running?
Well, we did 2 seasons in the UK, and then we stopped because we started making the film about 3 years ago. So we haven't done a 3rd season, but we'd like to, I think. I think in the UK, you don't have to do a season a year. It's not as strict as it is here. I mean, here it seems to be, you know, if Friends took a break for a year, you can't imagine that happening. But in the UK, it's a bit more flexible. People often forget that there were 4 years between the 2 series of Fawlty Towers, you know, which is a classic sitcom. So maybe we'll go back to it. Maybe we'll just be making movies now. Who knows?
What about a sequel to Shaun of the Dead?
From Dusk Till Shaun. Well, I think with the title that good, we can't help it. But I don't think we're going to, because I think we've said our lot about zombies. We made that point, and I think you can often, with sequels, you can retroactively sully the memory of the first film, and that if you, like, for instance, if you are to believe in the mythology of Jaws, when you're watching that first classic film, you have to believe that eventually Brody's wife will end up in the Caribbean with Michael Caine, and that kind of subtracts credibility from the first film. But even though, you know, it's still brilliant. But I think we're going to leave it alone.
Okay. Well, Simon, again, thank you for coming to Dallas.
Thanks, Bobbie. It's a pleasure.
Really have enjoyed the opportunity to talk with you, because it just said to me, again, what I've known for years is keep an open mind.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the spice of life.
Absolutely. That's good advice.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bobbie.
I really enjoy the Brits. I just...
There seems to be there's a nice relationship, you know,
Yeah.
with us.
Yeah.
It's always, we're made to feel so welcome here as well.
Okay. Now, does he need to... I know you're going to move the camera. Okay. You want him to move a little?
You just shift over.
Yeah?
Are you also a director? Do you also...
No, the director's Edgar's here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're wrong.
Okay. As a card-carrying Monty Python fan, are you offended if I say to you that, to me, this movie is Monty Python meets George Romero's Dawn of the Dead?
Not at all. I'm very flattered that you should think that.
How do you go about auditioning zombies?
Well, we put an advert on the internet and held auditions and put them through their paces very rigorously.
Okay, that's good. When you're auditioning zombies, what are you looking for?
The dead eyes, the shuffling gait, interesting bone structure, that kind of thing.
When you were filming the scene where all of you are trying to act like zombies and mingle with them unnoticed, did you break yourselves up, or what was that like?
I actually did call cut at one point because I was too freaked out because there were so many of them and I was a bit scared. That's true.
You filmed in many neighborhood locations. How did the people in the neighborhood take to this?
Not too badly, but we have disturbed some children now.
Children in therapy.
Yeah, I know. We've put a lot of them in. We've made a lot of North London therapists very rich.
Hang on just a second. Okay. Did all of these extras and did all of the extras and the people playing zombies get paid?
No. That's a simple answer.
Okay. Okay. How much of a problem was, how do I phrase this? You had the zombies moaning. Did you have some people who would just get out of control?
Yes, we did, and we actually, one of them bit Edgar as well, just because he was kind of directing them as they were moaning, and one bit him on the leg.
Some of the interiors you did at Ealing Studios, and Alec Guinness and so many wonderful people came out of there. What was it like being at Ealing?
We felt very lucky and very honoured to be at Ealing because it's such a historic studio.
this, I guess it's a sitcom. You refer to Spaced as a sitcom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. The sitcom Spaced, that's a big hit in Britain. What kind of a character do you play?
I play Tim, who is a comic book nerd and a skateboarder.
Okay. I think that'll get it. Fred, you think of anything else that I should